Okay, welcome again, everyone. As we slowly start to gear towards this webinar here, Katie and Azuree, first and foremost, how are both of you today on this Thursday?
I'm well, thank you.
Happy to be here.
How about you, Nathan?
Fantastic. There's no other way. You have to be fantastic, and there's no other option. And Azuree, we even have to ask before we even get started. You're just looking at that photo beside you makes me feel like almost calm. I feel, and maybe I'm speaking too soon, but wow, do I ever feel calm just looking at that and looking at there for your camera there?
Well, this is all part of the wellness journey and part of everyone finding their zest. Nice background picture rather than just a blank wall.
Of course. So that's fantastic to start on that note. What we'll do is I'll share the first slide here. So to say some context for everyone tuning in, so our CG Zest Wellness team loves putting on these webinars, these virtual webinars. And as you can see, these webinars are just one component of CG Wellness in its entirety. And so CG Zest Wellness, one of the amazing parts about it is the holistic view of it. So whether it's nutrition, sleep, mental health, emotional health, measurements, your biometrics, physical health, physical activity, you can see a number of different topics which all represent holistic well-being. And the photo here is of our CG Zest Wellness team. We had an amazing brainstorming session that day, brainstorming webinar topics like this, so you can see how things came to life. And then the bottom right image there is the CG Zest Wellness platform powered by Version Pulse, which is the backbone of the CG Zest Wellness program. And always love to say with these webinars is there's a number of individuals behind the scenes that help make this possible from the CG Zest Wellness team, and it's always nice to recognize individuals. So it's those such as Jacqueline, Ali, Donovan, Naval, Glenn, Sharon, Katie, myself, all team members of this fantastic team that we create programming for, that Katie will go into the next slide on.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the team. Teamwork does make the dream work. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Doyle. I am the CG Wellness Coordinator for CG Insurance Bermuda. So just to talk about some of our most recent programming that we've had and that we've had on offer for our clients. The thing to note with all of these is that they've all been virtual to kind of go along with the last year and unfortunately this year. So you see we've done a really cool WhatsApp group, a daily meditation group powered by Deepak Chopra. We've had virtual fitness classes. We did a lead your own Zero to Run initiative earlier in the year with Catherine Burns of Natural Nutrition here in Bermuda, which was a lot of fun. Very challenging, but a lot of fun. We're hosting virtual lifestyle checkups. Those are actually being run by myself. I am a certified international health coach. So these are little 20-minute goal setting sessions with me. These are available right now. The link is somewhere, we can share it. And they're free for everyone who has Premier Health. So all of our members across all jurisdictions. We hosted our first ever virtual health fair called Zest Fest last summer, which was amazing. The full recording is on our YouTube as well as in chunks, but I very much suggest checking that out. It was really cool. And then of course, we're hosting loads of different webinars and podcasts. Most recently, our Dollars and Diets webinar done by Donovan and Naval, who are the coordinators in Bahamas. So just something I wanted to touch on before we jump into Azuree's presentation is one of the great events that CG Insurance actually does alongside Bermuda Cancer and Health. It's called Relay for Life. Traditionally, it is a 24-hour walkathon. It's held all over the world, I believe, right, Azuree? It's not just in Bermuda.
We have 30 countries.
Wow.
30 countries. That's amazing. With the aim to be to raise money for the charity, so that they can help support access to cancer prevention, early detection, treatment, and support. This also goes to help those who maybe don't have health insurance coverage. Azuree, you can probably speak more to this, but from what I've read, Bermuda Cancer doesn't want to turn anyone away, which is a really key aspect.
Yeah, no, we don't. I'll touch on that actually in the PowerPoint in the presentation.
Perfect, perfect. So as you can see here, CG is a proud platinum sponsor of this event, and we have been for the past 5 or 6 years. We will be hosting a Zest Wellness 24-hour step challenge. So if you or your company are interested in joining that to help raise awareness for this amazing event, reach out to your group admin, reach out to myself or your local coordinator, and we can get your company enrolled. Special shout out to my colleague Mike Montgomery here and his 2 dogs who did the virtual event last year. Mike, I hope you're listening. Him and his wife Debbie are huge supporters of this event. We couldn't do it without them, honestly. And the last note on this is just to stay tuned for important updates about this event. For my Bermuda people, you know that we're facing some challenges right now with COVID, but the show will still go on. We just don't know how yet, so stay tuned. So without further ado,
That cancer patients are suffering because some of them cannot get to their appointments based on the restrictions. Some people have put off going to the doctor based on the restrictions, thinking and afraid they don't want to go out and catch COVID or be diagnosed with COVID. So some people are putting off those doctor's visits and putting off their scheduled appointments or canceling. And we're saying to people, don't cancel. You know that you are at risk. You have an illness. You are diagnosed with cancer or have been diagnosed with cancer, or you're worried or concerned that you may have something serious. You still should be going in to get checked, especially if the doctor's offices are open, because that you going in and getting that check or receiving that treatment can save your life, as opposed to you staying home and not doing anything about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And especially as you mentioned, doctors' offices are open for these things right now. So all of your preventative screenings that are covered by your insurance, like absolutely still be taking advantage of these things. I think initially we didn't expect COVID life to last this long, but it has been 13 months now, and a lot can change in 13 months with your own personal health. So
Exactly. Yeah.
staying an empowered patient. Yeah, that's awesome. I also had a thought for you, Azuree. I thought it was really interesting that you kept mentioning family history and knowing our own family history. It's something that we don't always think about, but it is so prevalent, right? If you've got breast cancer or heart disease in your family, like that's just so important to know. So to all of our listeners today, like definitely keep that in consideration. It's one of our questions that we ask with our biometric screenings as well. Do you have a family history of some of these non-communicable diseases? And, it's just such an important thing to know. So I thought that was really interesting that you highlighted that.
Yeah, we've seen, there was one specific case of a prostate cancer survivor who had a grandfather who was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And he remembers or recalls seeing the grandfather with a bag attached to his side, and he had no idea what it was for, but every week he would see him changing out the bag or whatever, and he had no idea because they never discussed it, and he was probably like middle school, teenage, adolescent, so saw it but didn't really question it. And then his dad, I think, was diagnosed. He was diagnosed at age 38 with prostate cancer. And then his older brother was diagnosed after him in his early 50s with prostate cancer. So that is a strong family history and family line that if they had the conversation starting from when the grandfather was diagnosed, they would have caught it earlier when they went for their checkups. And luckily for the survivor who was 38, he was vigilant and paid attention to his health and felt himself as a healthy person who exercised regularly, thought he ate well, did his annual screenings or annual physicals, and noticed something strange with his body and went in and talked to the doctor, and that's when they did the test and discovered it. But not everybody is vigilant. A lot of people feel aches and pains, or they may notice a slight difference and think, oh, it's nothing. Especially if it doesn't hurt or it's not bothering them, they can manage it until they go in and say, oh my goodness, you're at stage 3. How did you get here? Because cancer occurs over time. It doesn't just show up. It's growing and growing and growing. And for the first signs of cancer to show at 5 to 7 years, that's been growing for a long time. When you just start to see the beginning stages, like the smallest little spot has been there growing for at least 5 to 7 years. So yeah, so it's important. It really depends. If you are diagnosed with an aggressive cancer, it could have just shown up. You know, it really depends. So it's important for, I just can't stress enough. That's one of the biggest things in early detection, is when you know your body. You're responsible for your body. Your doctor doesn't live with you. He or she can't tell you when something's off or different. So it's important to make sure that we're doing even our regular health checks ourselves. So women should be doing self-exams for their breast every month. We have a special presentation for that. It's fun, it's colorful, it's called Know Your Lemons. So if you guys want to have me back for that, we do a Know Your Lemons presentation, just really encouraging women to know their breast health. And so that when they do go to the doctor, they will be able to report any significant or even insignificant changes. Skin cancer is another one where you should be checking your skin every single month. And if you have a family history, you should actually be going in sometimes twice a year to the dermatologist for a full skin check to make sure. And we live on a subtropical island, so it's important to make sure that we are checking our skin regularly. And for those who may be tuned in from the Caribbean region, again, tropical islands, beautiful sunshine most of the time, and again, having high UV index levels and global warming, we're moving closer and closer to the sun, that the UV index levels are increasing. They're getting higher and higher, more dangerous. So it's important to make sure we're vigilant and checking our skin every month as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's so important, because I've heard it's beautiful weather in Cayman right now. So to all of our Cayman listeners, you know, and Bahamas, make sure you're taking care of your skin.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much, how far awareness sounds like it can go in that, or how that ties to early detection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how many, like, how preventative it can be. Like when you showed that slide that said, you know, here's the ways, no, it was the top risk factors. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, we can control every single one of these.
Except aging.
Except aging, yeah. But that's just like incredible to me. It's like one of those things that you know, but when you see it presented to you, you're like, whoa, okay, this is why I'm taking care of my health. Yeah.
So almost 50% of cancers are preventable. That's huge.
That's huge. Yeah, that's
and
huge.
it's because of those things. Most of it boils down to lifestyle. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Even if you have a family history, people may say, what I've come across quite often at times, especially when it comes to obesity, many people say, obesity runs in my family, or you know, we are big bone people, and
Big bone.
and I've come across quite a few doctors who say that obesity is not hereditary. It's based on what you were taught as far as eating habits. I'm actually doing a course with Cornell University, and you know, it really depends. Genetics do play a role, but it's not 100% genetically related for those people who may be obese or fall into the obesity category. So it's really amazing that how genetics work, how environment works. There are things that we consume that there are epigenetic factors. So there are things that we consume that are going to turn on those genes that are going to cause cancer, or they can turn certain genes off to stop you from fighting cancer. So it's so many factors that you don't really want to fill people's heads with too much information, and it's like information overload. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is healthy lifestyle choices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well
and that's,
said.
I think, our motto with Zest Wellness as well. You know, the healthy habits build up to an overall healthy lifestyle.
Exactly.
This was fantastic. And what we can do is we can close on that note. Now we've reached the time limit here. So to everyone who tuned in, thank you. To Katie, who of course ran this webinar and facilitated the Q&A, how amazing that was. To Azuree, who created the whole slide deck and shared with us all the research and practices that we can do after this webinar and for the rest of our lives. It's amazing, and the word that comes to mind as we close out here is that it's empowering for all of us. And so with that said, again, everyone, this was another CG Zest Wellness webinar with our guest Azuree Williams from the Bermuda Cancer and Health Center. Bye, everyone. Bye for now.
Guys, bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.